A minivan just crawled over a boulder field that would have stopped a stock Land Cruiser. Engineers in Japan and Germany quietly built family haulers with transfer cases, locking differentials, and factory snorkels, then sold them to parents who had no idea what they were driving. 5 machines took that formula further than anyone else dared. Each one turned minivan architecture into something closer to a military transport. Number 5. Volkswagen Vanagon Syncro. Germany's answer to off-road minivans arrived with a level of engineering complexity nobody else in this segment attempted. Vanagon Syncro used a viscous coupling center differential to send power rearward automatically whenever front wheels lost traction, a system so advanced that portions of it later appeared in Porsche's all-wheel drive supercars. Raised suspension, locking differentials, and a low-range gearbox transformed Volkswagen's boxy family van into a machine capable of summiting alpine trails that stopped purpose-built off-roaders. European mountain rescue services adopted Syncro models specifically because nothing else combined interior volume with genuine backcountry access. Aftermarket specialists in North America still command enormous premiums for surviving examples, particularly those fitted with the rare 16-inch wheel package that maximized ground clearance. Complexity became the trade-off for that capability, since the Syncro drivetrain required specialized knowledge that most general mechanics never developed. Expedition companies across South America converted retired Syncro vans into overland tour vehicles, betting on a drivetrain reputation that decades of Sahara testing had already proven. Several of those converted units remain in active service today. Specialist workshops in Colorado and Bavaria now rebuild Syncro transfer cases from scratch, since Volkswagen stopped supporting the platform through official channels decades ago. Reverse-engineered parts keep the viscous coupling systems alive, though costs routinely exceed what a comparable modern SUV repair would demand. Owners accept that trade-off as the price of keeping a genuinely rare drivetrain on the road. Waiting lists at these workshops now stretch for months, a testament to how few technicians still understand the system. Prices for a full rebuild have climbed accordingly, yet demand hasn't slowed at all. Volkswagen built fewer than a handful of these, with a factory option so extreme that most owners today don't know it existed. Syncro owners comment below and tell us what terrain yours has actually seen. Number 4. Subaru Domingo 4WD. Subaru's all-wheel drive obsession didn't stop at wagons. It produced a genuinely capable minivan that history mostly ignored. Domingo shared its symmetrical all-wheel drive system with Subaru's beloved Leone lineup, delivering constant traction rather than the part-time systems found in rival vans. Boxer engine placement kept the center of gravity low despite the tall body, a rarity in this segment that gave the Domingo handling confidence most vans couldn't match on twisting mountain roads. Fishing guides in Hokkaido favored these vans specifically because loaded gear never upset the balance the way it did in taller, top-heavy competitors. Extended-length versions stretched interior space without sacrificing the drivetrain's core advantage, cramming 7 passengers into a footprint smaller than most modern compact SUVs. Subaru never exported the Domingo widely, treating it as a domestic market experiment despite genuine engineering merit. Surviving examples now attract dedicated Subaru collectors, specifically chasing rare AWD variants, with clean units commanding prices far above what the original economy pricing ever suggested. Parts scarcity makes ownership a genuine commitment. Restoration specialists in Japan report waiting lists stretching over a year for full Domingo rebuilds, since donor parts increasingly come from wrecked Leone sedans rather than dedicated suppliers. That cross-compatibility keeps the platform alive far longer than Subaru ever planned, even as original tooling disappears entirely. Enthusiast clubs now function as informal parts, brokers just to keep existing vans running. Members trade leads on donor vehicles across provinces, treating any surviving Leone as a potential lifeline. That informal network has effectively become the only supply chain the Domingo has left. A joint venture with another automaker nearly killed this van before it reached full production. If you've spotted a Domingo in the wild, Tell us where these are genuinely rare. Number 3. Nissan Vanette Serena 4WD. Nissan built a minivan tough enough that construction crews chose it over dedicated work trucks. Vanette and later Serena 4WD models packed a proper transfer case into a chassis originally intended for suburban families, creating an unlikely favorite among tradespeople hauling equipment into unpaved job sites. Rear-wheel drive-based, four-wheel drive architecture gave these vans traction characteristics closer to a truck than a typical people mover, and reinforced frame rails handled cargo loads that would have sagged a lesser platform. Japanese ski resorts kept fleets of these vans running shuttle routes through conditions that stranded competitors' vehicles daily. Turbo diesel variants extended the appeal into commercial fleets across Asia, where fuel efficiency mattered as much as capability. Drivers reported climbing grades exceeding 30 degrees fully loaded, numbers that embarrassed contemporary compact pickups sold in the same showrooms. Fleet operators in New Zealand later adopted retired Serena units as rural mail vehicles, valuing the drivetrain's proven durability over unpaved backcountry routes. Several examples reportedly passed 400,000 kilometers before retirement. Mountain rescue teams in northern Japan eventually adopted retired Vanette units, valuing the drivetrain's low-range crawl ratio during winter recovery operations. Volunteers modified several examples with reinforced bumpers and recovery points, turning ordinary family vans into makeshift emergency vehicles. None of that capability appeared anywhere in Nissan's original sales brochures. Local news coverage occasionally highlighted these makeshift recoveries, crediting the vans without ever naming the model directly. Nissan's marketing team reportedly never followed up on the exposure. One engineering decision inside the transfer case caused a recall that Nissan tried to keep out of Western press entirely. Comment Serena below if you remember riding in one of these growing up. Number 2. Toyota TownAce 4 WD. Compact vans rarely earn respect from off-road purists, yet Toyota built a version that quietly humiliated dedicated trucks on switchback trails. TownAce and LiteAce four-wheel drive variants used a selectable 2-speed transfer case mounted beneath a cab-forward body that most drivers assumed was strictly for grocery runs. Toyota engineers borrowed suspension geometry from the brand's light trucks, giving these vans surprising articulation despite a wheelbase shorter than most modern hatchbacks. Farmers in rural Japan loaded these vans with equipment and drove straight through terrain that stopped conventional delivery trucks cold. Reliability became the unexpected headline. Toyota's reputation for bulletproof mechanicals extended fully into this platform, and vans built in the late 1980s routinely surpassed 300,000 kilometers with nothing beyond routine maintenance. Mechanics across Southeast Asia still swap parts between decades-old examples because the platform barely changed underneath. Export markets in the Caribbean and Central America absorbed thousands of used units, where the drivetrain's simplicity mattered more than any luxury feature. Entire taxi fleets ran exclusively on second-hand TownAce vans, well past the 2-decade mark. Field mechanics in Africa developed their own maintenance shortcuts for these vans, passing techniques down informally since factory manuals rarely existed outside Japan. Compression fittings and standard bearings meant most repairs never required specialized tools, a detail that mattered enormously in regions without dealer support. That grassroots reputation spread the TownAce further than Toyota's own marketing ever intended. Some workshops became informal training grounds, teaching younger mechanics on vans that outlived their original owners. Toyota never sponsored any of it, yet the platform's reputation grew almost entirely through word of mouth. A single design flaw in the cab-forward layout created a safety controversy that followed this van for its entire production run. Tell us which cab-forward van you'd trust on a mountain pass. Comments are open below. Number 1. Mitsubishi Delica Star Wagon 4 WD. Snow-covered mountain passes in rural Japan created a demand nobody in Detroit ever anticipated a van that could outclimb a pickup truck. Mitsubishi answered with the Delica Star Wagon, a boxy people mover riding on a genuine part-time 4WD system borrowed from the brand's truck lineup. Underneath the cheerful two-tone paint sat a transfer case, a limited slip rear differential, and enough approach angle to tackle logging roads most SUVs avoided entirely. Owners in Hokkaido treated blizzards as a Tuesday commute, rather than a reason to stay home. Later generations pushed the formula further with turbocharged diesel engines and independent front suspension that kept wheel travel generous without sacrificing on-road manners. Rally teams in Australia and Europe eventually noticed, entering modified Delicas in grueling desert events where minivans had zero business competing and finishing. Aftermarket suspension specialists in Australia built entire businesses around lifting these vans further, chasing approach angles that rivaled dedicated expedition trucks. Collectors now import rust-free examples from Japan specifically for that modified off-road scene. Insurance assessors in Japan struggled to categorize the Delica for decades, since its combination of van registration and truck-grade drivetrain didn't fit neatly into either bracket. That ambiguity kept premiums unusually low for years, turning the Delica into a favorite among budget-conscious overlanders who understood the loophole. Word spread slowly through off-road forums until insurers eventually caught up and closed the gap. Some owners still swap old registration paperwork like trophies, proof they caught the system before it changed. That small community keeps the legend of the loophole alive decades after it closed. One export market banned these vans outright for being too capable on unpaved roads, and the reason involves a safety regulation nobody expected. Drop a comment if you've ever seen a Delica outside Japan bonus points if it had a snorkel. 5 vans, 3 continents, one shared philosophy: capability shouldn't require sacrificing space for people or cargo. Modern automakers abandoned this formula for crossover SUVs that look rugged without earning it mechanically. Subscribe for the next chapter in machines nobody remembers correctly. Drop a comment telling us which of these 5 you'd actually drive off-road.